There seems to be something lost with the modern day approach to tabletop role-playing games, and that is the importance of personal experience through pacing of a gaming session. I noticed it's completely gone on some people. They accept what I would call a mediocre experience nowadays, almost as if they don't know there's something better. You know, I see influence from like Matt Mercer and his group, where they're performing for the cameras. So they'll joke around, they'll break momentum, they'll get out of pacing, all as part of entertaining the watching audience. They're actors and whatnot. I have nothing against what they're doing, but they're performing for the watching audience, not for themselves. You will notice in many old school tabletop role-playing games, if you ever look through their text, you'll find that many of them will tell you that if it takes too much time to look up a rule in the book, make up something, just decide on the spot, rule on it, and move forward. You can always check after the session. Why would the text be telling you that? Why would the game be telling you to avoid checking a rule? It's all to do with momentum and pacing of the gaming session. You know, when you watch like the Matt Mercer and his crew, the reason I say it's all about performing and it's not about their own personal experience is because pacing and momentum in a gaming session is something that is for you, the people at the table, not a watching audience. And when you get into that momentum and pacing and going forward and playing the game, it's deeply exciting. I call it like the drug, the flow, right? It's the thing you get addicted to. Once you touch it, you need more of that. You should be busy playing the game, not sitting there yawning, half out of it. No wonder sessions might, for some people, only go for 2 hours, or campaigns only last for 6 sessions. What gets campaigns, in the old school long to 100 sessions? How does that happen? It's called people getting addicted to the experience. How do you get 8-hour and 10-hour sessions from the old school? Right? It's about being addicted to what you are experiencing on the spot. You won't be yawning. You won't be half in and out. You'll be focused on the game because you are stuck in that continuous pace and momentum. That's what the game wants. And games that weren't good at keeping you in that momentum or pacing didn't do well. There's many games out there with great ideas, even from the old school, that flopped. And one of the main complaints you'll get is, man, it's too slow. Takes too long to figure this out. Because people back in the old school era understood the pacing. They understood the momentum. That was the addictive part. That seems to have been lost throughout the decades in this hobby. And I mean, not just with people playing 5e, but even people playing some of the older games in modern times. They'll be busy joking around, breaking momentum, out of it, not totally there. Their sessions will be shorter. The stimulation is cut away. They're bored. They don't get too far in campaigns because the addictive gameplay of that pacing, the drug, the high you get from it, isn't there. People are not having that experience. Instead, what you see is a lot of people having a very mediocre experience. It's okay. Some of the things are okay. But it's almost like they're more hooked on the idea of what is happening rather than what they are actually doing. You would think they're somewhat secret. Why did sessions last for 8 or 10 hours on average back in the old school era? Right? Why were there 100 sessions? Was it just nerds and people that put too much effort or time to something? No, because nerds today that don't stick to the pacing and momentum, well, they only last for a few hours in a session. They don't go for 100 sessions in a campaign. They're not having that addictive experience. It's important. It really is. And I want you all to start focusing on this. If you're the DM or the game master and you're running your game, if it takes too long to check something, don't. Rules are secondary to rulings. That's why you hear rulings over rules all the time. So if it takes too long, just decide what you need to do on the spot. Let it move forward. Let the game keep going. If people start joking out of character, you, game master, you don't have to enforce, oh, you gotta focus. Just keep talking like the game is moving forward. Ignore out of character talk as if the expectation is the game is still going. You keep running it like it's still going. Players will adjust right back into character, right? You don't like they start trying to talk to you out of character. You just go, yeah, we'll talk after the session. And then you start, that's all you got to say is something like that, and then casually go back into game mode. Okay, your characters are going down here and doing this. What you do is maintain the focus on the game through your focus. You don't have to enforce it or say, you got to focus on the game. You just keep talking like their characters are moving forward, the game is moving forward. Players will all come back to that right away. Right? And you want that. That's part of momentum and pacing. And that momentum can be a high. Once you understand how good momentum and pacing in the flow is, how addictive it is, how good it is, you'll want to avoid anything that breaks you away from that. I'm old school. I understand pacing really well. So I want dice rolling to be fast. I have a good talk with my players before sessions start. When it gets to your turn on something, have an answer. And if you don't, I'm going to give you a countdown. You got like 10 or 15 seconds. And if you don't say something really concrete to me so I can let you finish explaining, like give you more time, I'm going to say, okay, your character is standing there like looking outward, like, a deer in the headlights. Your turn's over. But wait, my character didn't do it. You had your time. And I don't do that out of hate. And I even have a talk with players beforehand so they understand what I'm going to do. And I do it. Because that is me controlling the pace of the session, even in combat or whatever situation we are in. I don't let players control the pace, momentum, or flow of the game. So even in combat or any situation where it comes to a player and they're taking too long to respond, that's it. Move on. Your character stand there looking stupid. That's what your turn is now. What about my actions? No. And you might say, well, what if they say the book says this? I tell my players right from the get-go, the DM or game master is the authority over the book. The book doesn't have authority over me. So if I say your turn is over, it's over. And I tell my players to understand this. I am managing the pace and momentum and flow of a gaming session. And that is my responsibility. So the second I ask you something and you take too long, well, now you're messing with what I'm trying to maintain. So to maintain it and not give that control over to a player, I give them a moment to help me keep pace going. And if they don't, they lose their opportunity. That's how it goes. That's how important momentum and pacing is in the game. Many people just seem to not understand this. I'll tune into people that are willing to show their games live. And I can't believe it. I see people talking out of character. Some players sitting around yawning. I'm like, that's not a gaming session. That's not even real. And most of what they enjoy about that isn't even about what they're actually doing. It's more about the ideas and what they can say afterwards. Right? And some people that show it live, they're more concerned with how many likes or how many views they're getting. So they're trying to look impressive in front of the audience. That's not what these games are about. These games are about the experience of the people actually in the game. This is why I don't hate on Matt Mercer and his crew, but their personal experience with the game is secondary to performing for an audience. But that is not what these games are. I'm not trying to attack the guy or his group. Maybe they do a really good job performing for you out there, and you like them. And I say there's nothing wrong with that. But when you go to the table, it's not about performing for an audience. It is about your personal experience. And I got to tell you, outside of the pace and the flow is boring. You might as well get together and play Monopoly. There's not much of a difference, right? Here's the difference. The flow and momentum and pacing is the key to your experience. Try it out. Try it out. Maybe you'll learn why people stuck to these sessions for 8 to 10 hours. Why people stuck to doing 50 to 100 sessions in a campaign. What kept people coming back to the table? What got them addicted to this hobby? What was the drug? The people haven't changed. The drug still works. But no longer are they playing in that momentum pacing area. People have put that as secondary to what they're doing. You want dice rolling to go fast. You don't want to have momentum control by half-assed people at the table. They have to learn. If they don't want to miss their turns, they got to say something. If not, move on. Momentum and pacing has to be maintained, and if you can do it, you'll find out exactly why these games are addictive. The players will enjoy this. They really will. And they'll enjoy it more than not doing it. Really. You'll hear a lot of people preach about staying in character. Well, look, to me, it's not a competition. I'm not trying to say somebody is better than you or what have you. It is about your experience. Forget everything else. Staying in character, focusing on the game, pace and momentum, non-stop for the hours you're there. That will get people addicted. You're doing more. They want to see what happens next. And they keep coming back for that experience. The experience where they're sort of half in, yawning, and all over the place. Yeah, that's why your campaigns are over in 6 sessions. That's why your sessions are over in 2 or 3 hours. That's why. There you go. Figure I'd teach you something, because it's something the old school era seems to have known well. In the new school era, it's totally gone. People are like, people have less time. No, people didn't have much time back then either. They'd still make the time because of this drug, the flow, the momentum, and the pace. Make it important again, and you'll see a change at your own table with your players. I promise you.